Greetings, dear friends. Welcome to another episode of The Thread of Life. I'm your host, CJ Larkins, and it's been far too long. So I want to jump right in. Let's begin with this insightful quote. In the long run, it is far more dangerous for us to adhere to illusion than to face what is the actual fact. David Bohm. To break down that quote, in the long run, it's far more dangerous to adhere to the illusion. That means recognizing things for what they are. Simply, it is what it is, and we have to accept that. Like I was saying, I've struggled, in that area, accepting things for what they are. Um, you know, um, and I kind of became oblivious to the states into which I had fallen, meaning my refusal to face reality caused me to end up in to created I created a life for myself that wasn't in alignment with things that I wanted. So I found another quote by Neville Goddard, and he says, "Don't condemn yourself for the state into which you have fallen. If you don't like it, move into another." So that's something that I could hold on to and put into place in my life when I heard that. Instead of feeling sorrowful or upset, confused about things, no, that didn't matter. If you don't like it, move into another state. So that caused me to evaluate the landscape of my life, to look around and to see what actually was. So navigating through this universe, through this life, I began to observe, like I said, the landscape of my life. And I began to see repeating patterns and open loops. Meaning, open loops are things that I haven't yet completed or fell short somewhere. Basically, open projects, things left undone. Um, and the first thing I needed to do was to acknowledge these issues, acknowledge these things in my life, the open loops, the repeating patterns. Um, and one of my issues was the inability to take action, stagnation. I suppose that I was under the impression that if inaction, would slow things down. And it did. It slowed things down for me, but it didn't slow down the world around me, you know. So my refusal to take action only allowed for the settings or situations around me to decide the outcome. I wasn't taking charge of those situations, and for some reason, I thought that was a better way. So that led to stagnation in my life, and from stagnation came rot. Um, Rot is defined by the Cambridge Dictionary as to cause something to decay or weaken. Even an archaic definition of the word is nonsense. And when I began to evaluate the amount of nonsense in my life, I knew it's time to make changes immediately. There were areas in my life that were screaming for attention, not just attention, but order. I had situations in my family that forced me to reassess my priorities. To support my family, I took on an additional full-time position. So I was working two full-time jobs. I worked opposite shifts, so I would get off from one position and go directly to the other. And I thought this was a sound plan to improve my financial conditions and to overall improve my life. Um, and the benefits of this plan, was to increase my income, to help with budgeting, to start to invest or to gain capital to invest, to help me to create and achieve financial goals. Of course, to improve my financial and overall situation. But there were some drawbacks as well, um, in my family, in my home life. I became unavailable as a parent. I wasn't cooking for my family, which means, we're eating out, and that's not good for your body. Of course, not being available as a parent is, not good for the children or for myself as a parent. Um, my family took a back seat pretty much, and this was the reason why I was doing all of this stuff. So that was a trade-off that I was making, and it didn't feel good, but I continued on my path until it began to take a heavier toll on my physical and mental health. I had to reevaluate, and that came from those crises in my home and personal life, but it was another more serious crisis that I couldn't avoid, that I had to acknowledge, and that I needed to turn around. I needed to turn that situation around. I immediately made some changes. At that point, I think I had already put my other job on hold to take some time off because I was like drained. And when this other crisis happened, I just said, you know what, I'm not going back. I had plans to go back to my other job, but it wasn't. At that point, it wasn't worth it. Um, and so I began to take stock of things, and I said, you know what, these problems aren't arising, uh, to make my life harder. Like I said, I started to look at these problems as opportunities to upgrade my life. And since I could no longer ignore them, I slowly began to make changes. The universe works like that sometimes. And I came to understand when you begin to institute change, no matter how slow or fast, it creates ripples in your life. And even from the minute changes that I made by, by opening my awareness, those ripples began to help me terraform the landscape of my life. It helped me to change the current life I had and move towards the life that I envisioned for myself. Here's a quote from Dr. Bruce Lipton. Your life is a printout of your programs. Very simple. What kind of programs had I been running? Um, it caused me to look at the results so far of my life and of the programs that I had been running. And with that came the understanding that I was operating on a set of programs that I had chosen, but weren't necessarily beneficial to me. And you know what? That was okay because those programs could be changed and they can be changed. So it was upon doing a deep dive into Dr. Bruce Lipton that I received the message that we can change our programming. Lipton talked about how when we make changes or when we begin to make changes or try new things, we may not see success initially, but that's okay. Sometimes we have to do things repeatedly before it becomes second nature to you, or before you have a full understanding of it. First time we rode a bike, maybe we didn't get it that first time, or the first time we drove a car or tied our shoelace, but we kept at it and kept at it until we were able to retain that skill. So we were able to reproduce our success over and over again till you're repeating something the majority of your life and it becomes second nature to you, almost like breathing. Um, but Linton explained it as a computer, like a computer program. That's the way our brains operate. And when you're downloading new information, sometimes it may not be absorbed the first time, or your system may not update immediately. But that's okay because you can keep going until that program is installed. So I began to, instead of looking at different instances in my life as failures or successes, I began to look at the overall of why I was doing them. Um, and if it's for my betterment, then that is already a success. So I had to take the understanding as well that I'm trying new things and some of these things may not happen immediately, but it doesn't mean that they're not for me. One thing, that I really worked on and working on now is trading, and I've been trading for years. And at some point, I'm thought like, man, this, no, it's not working. Maybe I should just, give up. But I didn't. And I didn't give up because that's something that I held in my heart that I wanted for myself and that is going to help me achieve the lifestyle that I want. So even though that I've had, I haven't had the success that I didn't have the success that I wanted initially, does that mean that it's not for me? Or does that mean I need to keep working at it until I see the success that I want? We have dreams for a reason. I believe that we have dreams to bring them into reality. So I put that, in my back pocket. Actually, I put that in my heart and I began carrying it with me. And I still do. So oftentimes when we don't see success off the bat, you know, we want to give up or we say, I tried it, it's not for me. But I'm saying don't give up, don't give in. If it's something that you want, work at it. Um, I know there are certain aspects when we look to maybe outside of ourselves for things that we want, and I would just say this: that in every good deed lies the seed of success. Florence Scovel Shinn. So when we ask for things and when we're creating these new programs in our life, let's ask ourselves, what is the reason why? And this is going to, and the things we want, are they going to improve my life? Are they going to improve the life of others? And, that's where our success lies, in our intent and in our resilience and in our determination to continue on. So I started with internal decisions about what I wanted in my life and what I did not want. Um, so that's where the change started with my mindset. And once I decided about that, I had to start making logical choices about what I wanted and how I wanted to achieve these goals. About how to achieve these goals, and I realized I needed to take action, or I need to take action towards them every day, even if it's a small step. And that keeps those goals in front of you. So that's reprogramming, overriding habits, personality traits, beliefs, routines, performing these tasks until they become second nature to us. So when I talk about logical choices, what is logic? As defined by the Cambridge Dictionary, logic is a particular way of thinking, especially one that is reasonable and based upon good judgment. Two, a formal scientific method of examining or thinking about ideas. Three, sensible methods of thinking and making good decisions. Four, actions that a computer performs, such as comparing and matching, that involve simple yes or no choices rather than more complicated mathematics. Simple yes or no choices, making good, sound decisions. What I lacked in my life. That sat with me for a while. Such a simple thing, but it did sit with me. So I continued to move forward on my journey. And a friend of mine posed a question to me that helped to bring all this together. And he asked me about my relationship with money. So when I thought about my relationship with money, I began to reevaluate that. And I took that and I began to apply that to the relationships in my life, not just the financial ones, but the personal ones, my familial ones, my community relationships. Was my relationship with all of them, and how am I making decisions and choices? Are they logical? Are they sound? Are they complicated? On making that evaluation, I realized that I was operating mostly on emotion, limited information, and I was paralyzed by inaction. It's truly amazing to see the universe in action. It's true, what you seek is seeking you. And on my way to visit family out of state, I received a message, this time from Jocko Willinix, a master class he had that I watched when I was on the flight. And he said, you have to make small decisions quickly and you can always readjust. Mind blowing again. And I added that to my toolbox. So these are some of the tools that help me to become emotionally unattached to decision making. To be a successful leader, I had to separate or compartmentalize certain aspects of myself. I had to learn to execute. If I made a choice that wasn't working, I can always readjust, make change, and make changes. What they say in trading, don't stick with a little trade. Get out. What I had learned in the Matrix was to be loyal, ride it out, stick with it. Nah, be loyal to those who are loyal to you. Why should I be loyal to a job, that can replace me in a moment? Doesn't mean I won't do my job well. But if there are better opportunities, why not seize them? I'm learning to hold true loyalty to myself and to what I know to be true, to good things. So this brings us to another quote from Philippians 4, chapter 4, verse 8. One of my favorites. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Hold true to the good things, and those are the simple things. The logical things are simple. Um, the things that make sense are usually the ones that, benefit us when things start getting complicated and drawn out. Usually that's a sign that it's not in alignment with the things that we want. Um, so holding on to loyalty to myself and the good things, I made adjustments. I wanted to change so much, and I went through a process I call rejection. I wanted to change everything about myself, and I had to accept things. I had to accept things. Like there are things that make me unique, and make me different, and to look at those as bright, positive qualities. Um, I told someone, what, I'm being selfish. I'm acting like a spoiled brat. I have much to be thankful for. And the more you focus on that and take account of that, it becomes clear that we are the creators of our reality, and that I've created my current circumstances. And I can also change my current circumstances. I can change myself, but there are things that I don't want to change about myself. There are things that are representative of me and my moral values, but there are things about me that I love and I don't want to change. So, like I said, I took that into account. And once you can find something good, once you can find a reason, hope or moral foundation, sometimes it can be easier. Once you find those things, now you can shift. You can take that energy and transmute it into something else. Transmute that force into channeled energy to create the life that you want, to create a podcast, to write a book, to find kindness in your heart for someone else, to do whatever it is that you feel, whatever it is that's staying true to yourself, you know. Um, so that was like a period of self-examination, like what what are the things about me that I can appreciate, you know, that even nobody may have said anything about it or you may receive compliments on it or not, but what are the things that I value about myself? And that was part of taking inventory of the things that I wanted to keep in my life, deciding what kind of life that I want, going with what feels in alignment with my spirit, acknowledging those things that I don't need to alter. I will say It's I would say for me, it's holding true. It's holding true to the compass of my being. So embrace the unique things about myself. And it's all of our individual uniqueness that provides diversity in our world. And to show my gratitude. Now, I have to take care of what I'm given in this life: my family, my body, my vulnerabilities, my friends, my finances, my heart, my soul, my mind. And it's a journey. It definitely is a journey. But I just wanted to share with you all and with myself those recent revelations that I've had. And it's one thing to find things out for yourself, and it's another thing to be vulnerable and to share them with, people who will listen and who can find value in it. So I really want to thank you all for listening, to the message that I have shared. And I hope that, this helps someone along their way on their journey. It's helping me, and we're going to do this again really soon. Thank you guys so much, family. Peace and blessings to you all.